he's got to be better. He's had too many outbursts. I think a lot of them are deserved. They're going to miss some calls from time to time, for sure. So he's got to be better, and we've been talking to him about it, and so it's on him.
Okay, so Chris Finch talking there about Anthony Edwards' suspension, about the technical fouls that he's racking up. And in a lot of ways, as much as we were talking about Luka Doncic's threes, this was the story of the game, Brian.
Yeah, look, he's pretty much been suspended for a game and a half because he got thrown out in the third quarter of this game. And even if the 14th or the 16th tech was soft, he's got another 15 of them. And only February's not even done yet. And now he's already suspended. Every other tech now, he will get suspended again.
There's two more and then get suspended. Two more and then get suspended.
That's right. And, his fines for this year are now going to surpass $500,000 with his game check that he's going to pay. The league was nice enough. They didn't announce a fine for throwing the ball in the stands like he did right here. And look, he is an excellent player. He is absolutely the heart of the Timberwolves, but he's got to be available to them. They're now playing a second night of a back-to-back without three starters in Salt Lake City. He's hurt them last night. He's hurt them tonight. Not acceptable for Ant Edwards. He's got so much going for him. He's got to control his emotions better.
First things first, Ant Edwards is having a sensational season. He's averaging 27 points per game. He's actually made more threes than Steph Curry. He leads the NBA in made threes. But I do think we're seeing the pressure of the leadership that he's trying to assume hit him, because this is a team that really, without Karl-Anthony Towns, they're relying on him more and more for offense. We heard him complain about the double teams. He's trying to navigate that. You watch the Lakers game, the physicality was bothering him. I think it's his response to those things, put more pressure on him. No Karl-Anthony Towns, no Julius Randle, and I'm just equating the two, just saying that he has more on his shoulders than ever before, and he's trying to navigate how to do that the best way possible. But it's harder now for him, and I feel like that's the grace I give him in this. But he has to be better. They need him on the floor now more than ever before.
Well, look, he's still young, and the most important thing is that he has to find the balance, right? And it starts with Coach Finch. I heard him go on this rant after they beat OKC about the Minnesota Timberwolves not getting calls and complaining about SGA getting calls, and everything is earned and not given. I played with so many Hall of Famers. I call myself a groupie at times. I played with so many Hall of Famers. Well, Elle called me a wag. She said,
a wag.
More credit,
you said you got a ring, you're a wag.
So, but when I think about it, I'm like, okay, all the Hall of Famers that I played with, all of them earned the right to get to the point where they had a personal relationship with the ref, so the tolerance level was different. Anthony Edwards is growing into that. He's not the only person that's dealing with that type of issue.
But it took them to age 30 to get to that.
It did, right? Yeah. But we saw this. We're still witnessing Luka go through this, right? Yeah. The complaining with the officials, and certain things that all-star stars and superstars get away with, other players can't. I think this is just a good learning process for Anthony Edwards. He will respond in great fashion. He will come back better.
Well, Luka Doncic, yes, and when he was going through all of that, we talked about it pretty constantly of him needing to maybe take a little bit of a different approach with officials. Anthony Edwards now suspended for this game against Utah. To your point, Brian, they got Dante DiVincenzo back in this game last night, but they're still without Rudy Gobert. They're still without Julius Randle, and so they're really going to feel Anthony Edwards not being there. On the flip side of this game, though, this was LeBron James' 161st career game, leading his team outright in points and rebounds, assists, the most in NBA history. But it's what he said about Anthony Edwards not wanting to maybe be the face of the league after the game that has the entire basketball world talking.
Channing Frye said it the other day too, it's unfortunate, but I don't know, why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis, everybody.
Okay, so everybody has had a reaction to this. Perk, what's yours?
Well, look, Michael Jordan went through it, right? Michael Jordan, when he was dealing with the death of his daddy, did you see all the newspaper articles that were out about him, the stories that were out? When he was playing against the New York Knicks, did you see the gambling stories that was out? We didn't have social media, but he went through it. Kobe Bryant had his share of times that he went through it. Look, I get what LeBron is saying. My only problem with LeBron saying this is that put an address on it. Put an address on it. Don't just leave it broad. Say who you speaking to. Because it can't be us, because we highlight him every single day, even when he's not playing. We make sure we appreciate his greatness every single day. So if you're talking to other people outside of the basketball world, like the hockey player that worked for our network, what's his name?
PK Subban.
Right, who contradicted himself throughout the whole time he was ranting about the NBA, claiming that, you know, the NBA is basically soft and all this, but he don't watch much of the NBA, so how can you critique it? I think a lot of people have gotten too comfortable when it comes down to critiquing and criticizing our game and taking it a step further than it should be. That's the part where I think LeBron was addressing. My only problem with that statement is put an address on who you talking to.
Well, and that's sort of what you were saying earlier, Brian, that I agree with. I do think that as a whole, whenever things like this happen, it's always a time for all of us to pause, to be able to look in and say, okay, how can we be better? And players as well. And I think that what you said on Get Up this morning, just about maybe the discourse around the NBA at times swinging away from appreciating the greatness of what we see is a valid criticism.
Yeah, so probably after Michael Jordan, no one has ever given more adulation in the history of the sport than LeBron.
Yeah.
So, of course, he's been appreciated, and we still appreciate him, absolutely. We're so happy that he's been able to play 22 years. But it is also true that I think he is correct that we are a little bit out of balance. And I think the key word here is balance. You don't want all love and you don't want all hate. What you want is a combination that enriches the appreciation of the sport. And so that's what we strive for. And I think at times in our history we have done it. Right now, I would agree with LeBron and others that we are out of balance and that from a night-to-night basis, we should spend more of our time. And I'm not just talking about people on television, the fan base in general, because I see social media, I see what's out there. I think we should appreciate a little bit more the greatness of the players. Literally every day, there's greatness in this NBA, and it should be celebrated every day. And we should criticize people like Ann Edwards for being suspended ridiculously. And we can, credit
balance.
Wonderful performances like Zion Williamson having his first triple-double last night.
You're promoting later in the show. We're getting to that.
Comparison is a thief of joy. And oftentimes when we talk about LeBron James, we're comparing him, and it robs your joy because you're comparing him to someone that is flawless in some ways in Michael Jordan. That stature, I think a lot of people have already decided he will never be that, which means he's always less than. And to me, that is difficult when your job is to also celebrate what he's doing. Now, we do celebrate a lot of LeBron James, but I think there's a bigger picture here. It's more so about like the coverage, as Wendy says, like we can do better in trying to talk about specific things that uplift the game. So I think it's a little bit more nuanced than what people think.
Yeah, and then players got to realize too that they have to adjust. We're in 2025. Nothing is normal. Nothing is how it used to be back in the day. From the basketball world to the real world, we have to adjust. They have to adjust. It wasn't social media back then. It's social media now.
What I found fascinating is that we're talking about this a year removed from when we were comparing Anthony Edwards to Michael Jordan. And remember, Anthony Edwards was like, slow your roll. And ever since then, I think he's sort of run away from that discussion because he knows what that brings. It brings criticism. And who knows that better than anybody else? LeBron James. He dealt with 22 years of those criticisms. But it helped him. He's a billionaire, but at the same time, the narratives are things that he can't escape.
It's time to go coast to coast. We start with the clash between Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo. It did not disappoint. Giannis got the W, 28 points, 19 rebounds, but Nikola Jokic tallied his 12th career game with a triple-double and 80% shooting, passing Wilt Chamberlain for the most in NBA history. So, Wendy, more impressive the Bucks win or passing a Wilt?
Definitely passing Wilt. You don't. Most days it's most since Wilt. More than Wilt. Damn impressive. Also, Brooke Lopez continuing to play great without Bobby Portis in the lineup.
Well, the MVP race, it may not be over yet. Next up, Zion Williamson, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, his first career triple-double. The Pelicans defeated the Suns here. Chiney, since we began tracking, no player has been doubled more than Zion. What has impressed you the most here?
I mean, that fact exactly, because the last few years it's been Luka Doncic, it's been this year Anthony Edwards. Zion still getting doubled, giving you triple-doubles, and on top of that, 3 wins in a row. It's good. We're seeing the signs, in shape, working hard. So yes, never late, never late.
On the other side of the court, the Suns, they've taken an L in 10 of their last 12. After the game, Devin Booker talked about Phoenix's struggles here. We're going to get to those struggles in 3, 2, here you go.
Things get tough. We get quiet as a team, and from my experience and what I've seen, that's not the way to get through it. At some point, you got to draw a line, and should have been drawn a long time ago. Always look at myself first, but I also talk a lot.
All right, Perk, so where is the line drawn for Phoenix?
Trade everybody except Devin Booker this offseason.
You can't trade Bradley Beal.
Well, I mean, he could waive his no-trade clause, right?
He won't.
Why?
We don't have enough time right now, Perk. Why would you waive it if you don't have to?
All right, finally, let's get to the Knicks, who've been without Mitchell Robinson since last May. Without Mitchell's paint presence, the Knicks have been allowing an average 50 points per game. They're 20th in the league overall in defensive efficiency. Joining us now is our senior NBA insider, Shams Charania. Shams, some help could be on the way here. Mitchell Robinson listed as questionable for tonight's game. What can you tell us about his return to the Knicks lineup?
Malika, there is good news coming for the New York Knicks. Sources tell me there is optimism that Mitchell Robinson will be able to make his season debut tonight in Memphis. He will warm up tonight pregame with the intention of trying to go out there and play. And he's missed the entire season so far. He's had multiple foot surgeries over the last calendar year, but getting him back into the lineup, his ability to be a defensive anchor for this team, really play in tandem with Karl-Anthony Towns as a defensive-minded center at different points. They can play bigger with both of those guys on the court together. So look for that, whether it's tonight or at the very latest Sunday in Miami. And speaking of Karl-Anthony Towns, he is questionable tonight. I'm told he will warm up and try to play tonight in Memphis as well.